Valerie Tosi, and you're going to be at the Off Cabot in beautiful Beverly on Friday and Saturday. And you are originally from that area, right? Or at least you grew up partly in that area, right?
I am. I'm originally from Lynn, Mass. I lived there for a long time, and then I also lived in Salisbury, Mass for a long time.
Yeah, hence the title of your album, Beach Trash, I guess,
yeah,
right?
one trashy beach town to another.
Right. I noticed on the cover of your album while I was listening to it, you're representing Christie's Pizza there, so that's who you're going with, huh?
Listen, I have strong loyalty, and I will never stray.
Wow. Well, I'm kind of a Tripoli guy, you know?
Wow, I mean, should we hang up now?
I don't know. That's why we should get it right up front here. Everything's on the table. All right. Well, you know, we don't want any unpleasantness, so I'll just breeze by this. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
We can be friends. We can be acquaintances at this point.
As long as we don't mention it. Right. I do have to ask though, spending time growing up in the North Shore, best roast beef, because the North Shore roast beef sandwich is a thing of legend at several different places. Do you enjoy the roast beef sandwich?
I do, and it's funny because I loved Kelly's when I was younger because it was closer. But then when we moved north, there was a spot. It's gone now, but there used to be a spot at the traffic circle in Newburyport called Courtyard that when I used to. I was a dispatcher for years, and I used to work near there, and we used to always get sandwiches from there, and they were so good.
A dispatcher for the fire department or police or something like that?
For a police department. I was a 911 dispatcher for 4 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Because and that's my favorite, when people are like, oh, stand-up is so scary. I'm like, not even close.
You must have culled some material from that experience.
I have, yeah, because it's always so funny to me when, I have a joke now that I'm working on where I'm like, I keep getting hired for jobs that I'm unqualified for based off of my personality. And I'm like, I got hired to be a 911 dispatcher at 20. Like, why are you calling 911 if a 20-year-old answers, you're already dead, hang up.
That's right. Wow, 20 years old.
Yeah.
No offense. I thought there'd be some kind of age limit. And did you have to go through thorough training or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, you have to take a psych eval, both a written portion, and you have to do actually meet with a psychologist, and there's a 30-page application that has to be notarized. And
oh my God,
it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Jeez. Well, you're going to be out in beautiful Beverly at the Off Cabot, and you're on tour, and you've been touring Beach Trash, but the stuff on Beach Trash I was reading you've been working on for quite a long time, right?
Yeah, so now I'm in the process of building a new hour, which is always interesting, and that's half the fun of going on the road with it is seeing what works and what doesn't, especially just based off of demographically where you are. Now,
much like comedians, much like bands, sometimes they got to play the hits.
Oh, you got to go to that vault, baby.
Yeah, that's right, right. So I want to ask: does a joke a joke that you think is finished? Does it still evolve? Kind of like a painter who's it's never done. It is
kind of like that, yeah. Because there's definitely times where you think it's done, and then you'll be in the shower one day, and inspiration strikes, and you're like, why didn't I put this on there? And then you're forever mad because it's already out on a recording, but then you end up adding it in and then finding new ways to improve on it.
Because I always wonder about that. Some people get upset when a band plays the song, does a slow version or does it a different way, and they want it to be like the album. So I was wondering, when comedians record their stuff, is that it? Does it end there? But
I think it depends on how topical it is too. I have material that's COVID related on the album that I'm not doing anymore just because it still would. It just doesn't hit the same, because people also are very much try. It's like a bad boyfriend. We're just can we not talk about it? No one wants to talk about it anymore.
Right. Yeah. I'm just sick of talking about it. On your album, on Beach Trash, it seems like the whole second half of the album is specifically about your family. And I'm curious about your parents because you describe them as stoner dirtbags.
It sounds like these. I'm glad they live in Florida now.
Yeah, I was gonna
hear this.
I was gonna ask, do they ever get does anybody in the family get upset when you talk about? And I know it's all in. Does anyone ever call you and say, "Hey, don't put that on your record"?
We have gotten into into it a little bit. But it's funny because they're mostly very supportive, and like that's the thing is I get my sense of humor from my family. Like we're all just maniacs, and I'm just the first one to put it on paper, and so. You know, they understand what I'm doing, and they know that it's all in good fun. But there has been a few times where they've been like, maybe not that thing. And I'm like, fine.
So you grow up in Lynn, Salisbury Beach. When did you move out to Los Angeles?
I've been in L.A. now. This summer was 14 years.
Oh, my goodness. So the New England attitude moving to L.A., like going from Salisbury Beach to, say, like Venice Beach, I mean, the attitude adjustment must have been kind of traumatic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is very different. It's much like quicker paced on the East Coast. You know, everybody's kind of in a hurry. LA's a little more lazy in terms of like, or laid back, I should say, not lazy. But it is very different. But man, in a perfect world, I would love to be bi-coastal because I miss it back here so much. I do not miss digging my car out of the snow and my gas line freezing, but I do miss the rest of it.
Yeah, I lived in Richmond, Virginia for through most of the 90s. And when I first moved down there, that was something I had to get used to. Things move at a much slower pace, and I had to get used to that. And people were friendly. It was like you'd make eye contact on the street in Richmond, Virginia. They'd be like, how you doing? You know, and up here you make eye contact.
It's alarming, isn't it?
You're right, yeah. I'm like, what do you want? What do you want? Just tell me what you want. I don't want to fool around. But here you make eye contact with someone, and it's like, what? You know?
Yeah, like, would you say to me? Like, what
are you looking at? Got a problem? Yeah. So when you come back to like this weekend at the Off Cabot in Beverly, you come back. Is there like a little attitude adjustment to your act? Like first it's like kind of a hometown crowd.
I definitely it's more just my energy because I'm so excited to be here, and I love doing these shows when I come home because it feels like a homecoming, and it's always so fun, and there's always people I know in the audience. And, and because a lot of people would ask me, too, when I did my album, they're like, why aren't you recording it back home? And I'm like, because I don't trust my family not to yell out something during the recording. I'm like, I have to do it elsewhere. But during, like, regular shows, it's always fun, when I get to play off the audience and stuff, and especially when I hear those thick accents, I just get so excited to dive in.
Why don't you do something funny? Yeah.
I do. I love roasting people too on stage. Like my thing is I'm like, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. But if you start saying something dumb, I'm coming for you. I
do love that on Beach Trash, your interaction with the frat boys. I think that's fantastic.
That was very funny. I was like, this has to be the recording we used. This was too ridiculous not to.
Who heckles worse, people on the East Coast or because LA is such a huge comedy scene? So I would imagine it's very kind of international or something like that if you're at the Improv or the Comedy Store or something. But who heckles worse? People here on the East Coast or people in like LA?
I'd say wherever there's a bachelorette party.
Oh man.
Those are always the worst. But like in a weird way, I've also done a lot of shows where the audience gets very stoned, and that is honestly a different breed of awful because everyone's so out of it that they just stare at you and you feel like you're in an aquarium. It's really weird.
And there's just constant streams of food, being delivered to the tables.
Yeah, it's very weird. In fact, I did a show where the comedians had to get stoned and then do a set. It was my first time ever doing that on stage, and I just came out and the light hit me, and it was like every ounce of illicit things that were ever in my system just all of a sudden got activated, and I immediately made eye contact with the person in the front row and was like, I'm eating your Butterfingers.
I am a cannabis enthusiast, much like your parents.
Thank you. I didn't know what we could say here on the Pike.
Oh,
no,
you can speak freely. But I can't even imagine getting up on stage with just a microphone being completely stoned out of my mind.
It was out of control. Because we did you did a 5-minute set normal, and then you took a break, and the audience took a break to also get stoned, and then everybody came back and did another 5 minutes. So it was kind of nice in a way where people knew that you were capable, and then like after you just came and everybody was just on bated breath waiting to see who was going to be the most messed up.
Where was this?
It's a show called The Gateway Show. They've done it all around the country. It's a very fun show.
Good name.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And there's been a lot of kind of knockoffs of it too, but they're very fun shows.
Now you started something at is it the Improv in LA, a specific comedy night for women that's been going on for, is it over a decade now?
No, it's not quite. So last year would have been either our 5th or 6th.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry, 6th or 7th, I think, anniversary. It kind of gets mixed up because of COVID and not having shows. But so it's been about 7 or 8 years now, and it's called the Mermaid Comedy Hour, and I started it when I was pretty new to comedy, and I was just tired of not having enough spaces for women and the male-dominated lineups and stuff. And listen, dudes are funny too, but so were women, and it was frustrating not having as many opportunities as they did, and so sometimes you just got to make your own.
So in your 14 years doing this, do you think we've progressed? I mean, to me, through a man's eyes, it looks like we've progressed. I see more women comics. I see women getting more specials, on Netflix and stuff. Do you think it's come a long way?
In certain aspects, yes, but I think I definitely think there's a long way to go, and I think part of that is because if you listen to if you plugged in my name or some other female comedian's name into, say, Pandora or Spotify or Sirius or any of that stuff, you'd think that they would recommend other women, and they don't. Mostly you get hit with a bunch of male comedians, and that's super frustrating because you think if somebody likes a female comic, they'd probably like other female comics as well. So it's like things like that, like the algorithm is biased in a weird way. And then you whenever you see lineups, it's pretty much always male-dominated. And specials and things are getting better, but there's also an ageism aspect to it, too, because you'll see a lot of older male comedians that will have specials, but it's very rare to see an older female comic have specials, and that's super frustrating, too.
I just to let you know, I listen to Beach Trash on Amazon Music, and their algorithm points me to nothing but female comics.
Ooh, the first time I'm going to like Amazon.
Right, well, yeah. It's just I prefer it to Spotify, and so just since you mentioned that, I was like, because last night when I was listening, it was just like, it's great. I've never heard of any of these female comics, so it gave me a lot of choices. So that makes
me happy that they did that, because there's been a lot of us that you plug in your name or somebody and then all of a sudden you just get inundated with dudes, and you're like, again, not that they're not funny, but. No. You want to nobody wants to see the same person's point of view over and over and again. Right. It gets boring. The audience gets bored. You have all walks of life at a show. Your shows should look like, your lineups should look like the city you're in. There should, if you're in a major city, there's going to be different backgrounds and, and cultures and different points of view, and you should have some lineups that reflect that.
Have you ever thought about, or maybe you've already done it, I don't know, doing some kind of recording video or anything for the Mermaid show at the Improv?
We record sets there a lot. I would love to take it out on the road, and we were kind of working on an idea of some sort of travel doc show with it, but then everything kind of got delayed and things because of COVID. So we definitely still want to. I think that the idea is super relevant. I don't want to say too much about it since we're still trying to figure it out, but okay. But it would be very timely.
Yes.
So it would be nice if we could get it off the ground.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Valerie Tosi is going to be at the Off Cabot in Beverly Friday and Saturday. Go see her and welcome her home. And then, are you? I was reading up. Are you a pinball fan? Are you big into pinball?
I am. I'm on a pinball league. I am the biggest nerd you know.
Okay, because I don't know if you know Jimmy Dunn. He's from Hampton Beach. Do you know him?
By name, but not I'm sure we've met, but my brain is bad.
He's been a comedian in the Boston, New England area for years.
Yeah,
and years.
Forever.
Yeah, forever. He's also a pinball fanatic, and he's got
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so is that like a beach town thing? You're both
so funny.
He's from Hampton Beach. You're from Salisbury. You both love pinball. I'm guessing, is that like a beach? Because you guys, obviously, there's arcades around,
Yeah, I wonder if it's because those little, and I say this with love, trashy arcades that are on the beach I do mean that with love. They're part of my childhood. I love them forever. But they are, in a way, where they're like, hey, kids, we know what you're going to grow up to be. Why don't you try gambling now?
Yeah, right, yeah.
I kind of feel like that's, pinball was illegal for a long time because of that, because people, they were saying that it was children gambling, and so it was outlawed for decades in the States. And then finally, they brought it back in the 70s.
Last time I was in Salisbury Beach, it was quite a while ago. Zoltan told me that I would have a very good future. So I do like that. I do like the Salisbury Beach arcade more than the Hampton Beach arcades.
Listen, I'm not big into astrology, but I will take anything that Zoltar says as absolute gospel.
Awesome. Valerie Tosi at the Off Cabot in Beverly, Friday and Saturday. Go see her. And thank you very much for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks.